Hi, I'm Maria of Pink Bunny Design, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about paper piecing, or actually joining paper pieced sections together. Because if you know me at all, you know how I love perfection. Paper piecing is a fantastic way to get exactly that, because you know your points will be absolutely perfect. The problem comes though when you are supposed to be joining these paper pieced sections together. And when you try to do that, normally you would pin, and pin again. Because since you can leave the pins in when you sew, you will get just a minimal distortion, but you will still get that darn distortion, and it irks me. So, while I've been doing these beautiful lemon slices for the Citrus Slices quilt by Whole Circle Studio, I have been working out a method for doing this in a way that I'm happy with. And it involves clover clips or wonder clips. And I start when I do this by matching up the pieces that is most important. And in this case, I think it is the rind here of the lime in this case. So that would be where I start with my clips, and on this piece that is here. So I started placing these two clips, one on each seam, and then to make sure they will lay perfectly still when I sew, I added a mini clip in between. I really like these ones because you can nestle them in really tightly. And then I continue matching up the important points. And when I do that, I actually just place them from this side, and so they are edge to edge, and I feel a little with my fingers also, and I clip. And then you want to make sure that they are perfectly straight, and to ensure myself of that, I actually insert a needle into the seam, exactly where the seam is and where I want my points to meet, and I push it through. And I look on the other side and I see that it comes up exactly where I want it to, meaning where the seams should meet. So then I know I have actually succeeded in placing my clips correctly. And you can do a couple of these little tests, but I'm fairly certain I have placed these correctly. Anyway, the trick to doing this is actually placing your clips in the seam allowance so that you actually have enough room here to sew with the clips in place. And the secret to sewing with the clips in place is using the right presser foot. And for me, since I have a semi-industrial, I use this foot, which is a zipper foot or a piping foot, which will allow me to sew on the line while these clover clips are still in place. I will show you this in a second. But if you have a domestic machine, you might not have one of these presser foot. Then instead, you can use your zipper foot, since then it will allow you to move the needle as close as you have to, and then sew along this line, still with the clips in place, ensuring a perfectly straight seam and ensuring that these cannot move while you sew. So let's hop over to the sewing machine and I'll show you how I do it. Okay, so here I am at my sewing machine, my trusty Juki. And now when I'm sewing, I'm going to start from the end which will allow me to keep these flat. Because if I sew with this side down, I won't be able to get a straight seam, because these are actually flat on one side and they are circular on the other. So it's important that you start in the end, which will allow you to keep them flat during sewing. I sew with the same short seam allowance I use for the stitching on the paper, actually, because I want that tight seam so you don't see any openings. When I sew this, I'm gonna carefully start at the end here. And now we want to sew on the line, on the seam allowance line, all the way. So make sure you test if you can move your needle, that you do a trial run and adjust your needle accordingly. I also started in the end with what I think is the most critical piece, which is the rind here. So I start with that in case there is any distortion of the fabrics as I continue moving down. That will be at the end where it's least important. So let's do this. as you can see, these are left in place the entire time. And you carefully go over the seams here and continue all the way up, leaving the clips in place the entire way. If you think it looks wonky here, it's because I accidentally cut away too much of the seam allowance when I trimmed the piece, so that's why. I have to take it extra slow here at the top and actually remove this because there's a big lump of seams here as I'm sewing 4 blocks together. I want to be able to sure I can get all the way up in there before I turn around and back up. There we go. And now let's see if you zoom out a little, honey. We can actually remove these first. And then, fingers crossed, this seam should be pretty close to perfect. And I think it is. It's very bulky because of the paper still there, but as you can see, the points match up pretty perfectly all the way here. So you can see you get that really nice square once you remove the paper, so you can actually see what you're going, and also here down at the end. I think that's pretty close to perfect, and I'm very happy with this block. And I'm so happy I finally figured out a way to get the joining of the paper piece sections perfectly together. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so very much for watching, and have a good day.